What is up, guys? Xbar 1000 here, back with some more Marvel's Avengers content. And we are finally at 175 with Miss Marvel. I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to be playing her for the rest of this game's either lifespan or until the next power spike, or if there's like a new meta shift with gear. So before I get into actually the new gear that I have, I'm going to do a quick rundown of all the champion point spec, the masteries, and the specialties. This part will be very brief because if you've been here before for all the previous Miss Marvel videos, I went into depth on those, and most things haven't changed. As far as the champion point spec, you can find use with just about everything you see here. Your melee damage boost is the most important thing because that's what this build is all about. We're going full melee, glass cannon. Um, if you want, or sorry, next you would need crit damage and crit chance because that'll further boost this melee rating category. You want to be critting because critting is how you get your damage buff to proc in this build. So these three categories first: crit damage, crit chance, and then damage boost. After that, if you find yourself struggling with evading, go ahead and knock out as much of this defense as you can, especially after the defense nerf with the comics. I know it's hurting a lot of people. With this build, you'll be fine. The utility is also good as well. Status resistance helps here and there. The perk chance is arguably the most important thing here because it'll let your damage boost activate more, along with other defensive boost perks, or maybe even if you have a vibranium payload, that'll go off. It's more likely to go off as well. For the heroic charge rate, this is going to be very good because I run the self-res ability now, and I want to get that back as much as possible. This is also super important for your ultimate as well because that's where your max damage comes from, so you want to be getting into that as much as possible. For the masteries, all of this has remained the same. I don't think I've changed anything for a long time. The most recent change that I've done was towards uh, it was this one. I used to run the juggle, but I no longer do that anymore. I just went for the heroic energy mastery because as you're punching, you're building up your super, which is the most important thing to do with Miss Marvel because your max damage comes from when you're in Big End because it's a flat damage buff whenever you're in it. As for the specialties, the only thing that's changed is Life Spark. You could still run the 3 heal thing if you want, but if you're worried about the odds of you going down, whether it be through a glitch or an ad got a lucky hit in or a boss got a lucky hit in, might as well have Life Spark. You still have 2 heal tokens and it's 2 self-res and stuff. Alrighty, now we can get into the fun stuff. So for the relics, we'll start there. Or sorry, my ISOs. Um, I'm still rolling with those triple mites, mainly because of the lightweight breaker perk, 11.3% increased damage for light combo finishers. Both of my ISOs are the same. For people wondering where I got them from, I got them from the Ant Hill. Maddie Cho rotates these every day. So if you keep checking, eventually you'll find one. You can also find triple might ISOs in the open world, doing drop zones. You can find them in a vault, and you might be able to find some in the Mega Hive Gauntlet whenever you're opening chests. But a guaranteed way for sure, just keep checking the anthill every day. You can even check Sydney's gear vendor at the shield base. Um, as far as uh, my activated relic that I use, I'm still running the Sacred Dornstone of Lethal Will, and that's because of I stack this buff in with my damage boost, and then also stack that on top of my Embiggen. While Embiggen doesn't raise your melee stats, the damage buff in the Nornstone does increase your damage boost quite a lot. And you can get a lot done in 10 seconds with that amount of damage being boosted. So moving into the heroic piece, I got the Discordant Regalia Elite. I really love this piece. The cryo status leak is my favorite thing about this piece because It allows for me to have some sort of crowd control. With melee, sometimes you not every attack is going to be AoE. So if you happen to make this effect proc by hitting an enemy with Sonic while they have Vibranium already fully stacked, Cryo is going to shoot out to everyone in the surrounding area. This is good for bosses that are very mobile, like the adaptive android in OLT. It works a bit on Claw. It's not like ridiculously good, not as good as like Thor's Bifrost and stuff, but can slow him down a bit. Um, it also puts another element onto the boss or group of ads, so you're actually being a team player by doing this, because throwing that cryo up there might create a battery opportunity for somebody else or even yourself. Um, while receiving the Sonic Conduit buff, polymorph damage is increased. That's super huge. We like that. Um, you want more polymorph damage because whenever your ultimate is down, that's typically how you want to be laying into enemies. My favorite combo is the catapult kick. That's when you hold your heavy attack and then you tap it again. If you polymorph while you do it, it's going to increase the damage of it. So definitely do that. And then we also have a sonic conduit on this piece. That's very important because it seems like that's the new meta for the game. They want you to be able to uh, share. They want your teammates to contribute to how you deal damage more so than us being solo. So we'll see how that goes. But I just run it now because it's part of the meta with everything. The Nimble Inspiration Vest, I think this is my only OG piece of gear that I've been rolling with that I just refuse to get rid of because I haven't found anything like astronomically better. This piece is super good because of the Vital and Vulnerability perk. Whenever you die, or if your teammates die, whenever you drop a heal, there's a very good chance that you're going to get this invulnerability. And if you're worried at all about your survivability, well, as soon as you get up, you're going to have 5 seconds of not taking any damage. So typically, what I'll do is, if I happen to get knocked out by a claw or something, I'll self res. Now I'm invulnerable. I'm biggin. That's my first damage. I'll start punching. He can't stop me from punching because I'm invulnerable. So I get my damage buff, and then I'll even Nornstone on top of that. And this works in OLT and anything. So with this gear piece, the acquisition is weird. I don't really know. I'm pretty sure I've said this so many times before because I've had this piece for a while now. I think this one came from the Mega Hive. I know I didn't buy it from a vendor, and I know it's very old. Like I'm talking before the raid old. So yeah, you could check the open world for sure. Keep running your gauntlets. Maybe even villain sectors. I'm not too sure. If I come across another one, I think I'll have to find a way to get that information out there to you guys. But pretty sure you can either try the Gauntlet of Heroes, um, the Mega Have. If you see that loot bot running around with all the legendaries, kill him and see if he has it. That's my best bet for that. For the range piece of gear, this one is also from the raid. It's actually from the regular raid though, which is actually kind of funny. There wasn't too many pieces in the elite that seemed to be better than this one. Now there could be an elite version, but sometimes the elite versions were giving me rolls where I was losing way too much melee damage for the faultless buff, and that's not what we want. You want to, it's okay to sacrifice a little bit of melee damage, but granted, if something is doing minus 15%, that is an extreme like detriment to your normal playstyle. I know some people pretty much cling to resilience and defense, but you don't need that much if you can really master that circle or B button, whatever platform you're playing on. But this is the piece we're rolling with. The faultless buff is my favorite thing about this piece because you're always punching with a full melee build. So at any point in your combo, you can get a damage buff. And we go from 6,000 to, I believe we go to 9,000 or 8,000. I'll show you in a bit after I get done running down through the gear. But you get a spike in damage. which is super easy. It's not like I have to kill somebody. I can just start punching and then I have it. Finally, we got a solid damage buff that's super easy to get every time. For the next perk, we have ranged reverberation. All ranged attacks deal vibranium damage. This is how we're going to make battery with this loadout. I know some people are very hyped on the vibranium payload. However, with Kamala's ranged attacks, you only need to do 2 or 3, and then it's guaranteed like fully stacked up. Anybody who hasn't seen me actually do the battery combo with this build, check out the Miss Marvel soloing claw video, because I stack him up with vibranium first with my ranged attacks, and then I go all out with my light attacks because the light combo finishers are going to deal sonic damage, which is battery. The granting modifier is good as well because we have a 15% increased damage on the enemies while the status meter is up. Then for the melee piece, like I was saying earlier, the balanced scream is that light combo finisher, and also melee power attacks are dealing sonic damage. So you're just going to get into your embiggen and get to the ending of that combo while vibranium's fully stacked, and you're going to be hitting somewhere between 350 and the highest I've hit is 644k. That's some pretty insane melee damage, especially when you think about the fact that it's not like you're hitting 350k for the whole combo. That's 350k or 644k for one punch. So, and you're going to be multiplying that by, I believe it's five. It's either 5 or 6 hits that she does. Um, so yeah, that's pretty crazy. We got polymorphic superiority, increase the damage from Morning Star and Palm Strike by 25%. I don't believe I do those moves like on purpose. I mean, but if you do happen to use those moves, hey, there's a 25% damage increase to them. That's some pretty substantial damage. I mainly grabbed this piece because of how high I was raising my might at the time, in conjunction with this piece right here, because I was looking for a Sonic and Vibranium combo, because I had a feeling that was going to be the best for her now. Now, granted, there is gear that can raise your melee rating higher than 6k. I actually have some of it on me. Originally, I was running with Vibranium as my main damage tool, but the problem was stacking Sonic is almost impossible on Claw, or from what I've noticed, it is impossible. So I'd rather stack Vibranium with my ranged and then go all out with my punches as Sonic, because you're still going to be able to get crazy battery damage, whereas with the other one, it would be almost impossible to stack it. So that's why I let go of my Vibranium piece. I still have it. I mean, it's still a solid piece overall. If you just want to be the person that sticks Vibranium to the target while your other people are out there laying into them with sonic damage, this is still a viable way to go. I just prefer to have Sonic on my melees and Vibranium on my range, because then I make my own battery, and by making my own battery, back to this heroic piece, I can activate that cryo status leak every time I do that combo. Because you can even hit up an ad with 2 ranged attacks, or maybe even 1 if it crits, and then drop a heavy power attack, just hold triangle, and then boom, you just created battery, and you threw cryo damage out on the surrounding enemies. So that's the way I'm running her for now, and for the future of this game. The other piece you could run if you were going Vibranium melee, you want to look for the Discordant Adornments Elite. This one was really good. It boosted my melee so high, plus 9%. I believe she was, where's she sitting at with both of those on the opposite versions? So she's coming close to being at like she's midway through the 6,000s, close to getting to the 7,000 marker. I believe you can hit 7,000 as well. Um, but the way I have it here is better because this piece doesn't offer a damage buff. And if you notice with the vibranium piece that I had earlier, this one also doesn't offer a damage buff. And that's where those two pieces became problematic, because my alternative was to have this berserker buff, 16 attacks in a row without taking damage, is pretty annoying as a melee, especially if you don't have any sort of invulnerability that's easy enough to activate. Like on a revive, I mean, if people aren't dying, or if you're not dying, well, you're not really getting that invulnerability. So ended up benching this piece for the faultless buff, because the faultless buff, it's a lot easier to get off. We're talking your first punch could be your damage buff activate, versus you trying to get 16 punches or ranged attacks without taking damage. That you can't always guarantee that. Um, so again, yeah, keep farming this in the elite. This one is actually available in the normal raid, which is nice because the normal raid is very easy to farm now. This piece is available in the open world. You can try the heroic gauntlet, or OLT. Look for that robot that drops all that loot whenever you're doing vaults. Or he also shows up in like some villain sectors too. He used to show up in the Monica one a lot. The regalia piece is in the elite. Again, these ISOs, you can pick these up from Maddie Cho. I do want to keep doing elite as well to see if there's any ISOs that drop from the raid that actually are to my liking. For the most part, a lot of them tank your melee damage, and I'm not certain the payoff is there. Anybody who's seen me do recent raids with Kamala or anything with Kamala knows that I just mow through everything now. So I don't really think you need those new elite ISOs, but if you want to test them out, by all means, go ahead and do it and let me know how the result is in the comments. So next I want to show you what the numbers look like whenever your damage buff activates. Let's go ahead and get some enemies in here. We'll go ahead and have them even ground, create a decent size of them, and spawn them up. So I'm going to punch for a little bit. Okay, so we got the damage buff going. We went from 6,038, I believe, to 9,890. That's pretty insane for that damage buff, because we almost just jumped into 10k. And keep in mind, this is not counting the embiggen buff whenever I use my ultimate, and this is not counting my Nornstone yet. So then when I activate my Nornstone, we are now sitting at 13,262 melee damage. That is insane. And again, still, we haven't even embiggened yet. If you happen to have a Thor in your party, you can go up to, I believe I had 15,000 melee. I took a screenshot. I'm going to have to like post that to the communities in Discord or on Facebook. But climbing up to 15,000, mind you, if you had something like a Clint Barton dropping that support heroic that gives you crit, or Black Widow giving you crit, we're talking some pretty disgusting numbers. Because I think that's when I got that 644k. It was when I was juiced off of that Warrior's Fury. Yeah, that's definitely when I hit that 644k. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, guys, this is the 175 build. Sorry if I felt like I was speeding through that. I didn't want to take too long with the stuff you've already seen before with the champion points and masteries and stuff, because none of that has changed. I wanted to get straight into talking about the new gear. Sorry for taking so long to get this video up. I meant to put this out a lot earlier, but here it is. She is 175. I love it. She is very strong, like I thought she would be. The Kate Bishop video is on the way. I'm still working out the kinks with a few things. I like where she's at in her performance at a raid, but I'm wondering if there's a piece or two that might make her even better than I have her now. So I'm currently experimenting with the vibranium payload. with Kate Bishop and hoping that that'll do something for faster battery than her typical power attack rotation combo. But I'll get all into that whenever I'm actually in the Kate Bishop video. She'll be hitting 175 tomorrow. So her video should be expected in about a week or two. We'll see what the loot looks like. But until next time, guys, this is X Spartan 1000 with my potentially final build for Kamala. I will catch you guys in the next video.